solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Fired
So help me
FBI
God.
Chief James Comey
Please
testifies in front of a special Senate committee.
Director Comey, you're now under oath.
Morning.
Good morning.
Citizens of the United Kingdom cast their ballots today.
I present to you Great Hawk Road.
And Humber College commemorates its 50th anniversary with the renaming of streets.
Great Hawk Road will replace Silver Bell Lane.
Humber News starts now. Hi, I'm Jane Burke, coming to you from our newsroom at Humber's North Campus. Thanks for joining us. Here's what's making news this hour. Former FBI Director James Comey testified today before a Senate Select Committee on Intelligence that is investigating allegations of foreign influence on the 2016 U.S. election.
Do you have any doubt that Russia attempted to interfere in the 2016 elections?
None.
Do you have any doubt that the Russian government was behind the intrusions in the DNC and the DCCC systems and the subsequent leaks of that information?
No, no doubt.
Do you have any doubt that the Russian government was behind the cyber intrusion into state voter files?
No.
Do you have any doubt that officials of the Russian government were fully aware of these activities?
No doubt.
Are you confident that no votes cast in the 2016 presidential election were altered?
I'm confident. By the time when I left as director, I'd seen
A great
no-
deal of the hearing focused on a memo Comey released yesterday, detailing his numerous one-on-one conversations with President-elect and President Trump. It is unusual for an FBI director to speak with the president. During the Obama administration, Comey only recalled speaking to the president twice. Comey says he kept notes on his conversations because he was confused and concerned by the interactions with Trump. Comey says he felt the president was trying to establish a relationship of patronage.
What was it about that very first meeting that made you write a memo when you had not done that with two previous presidents?
As I said, a combination of things. A gut feeling is an important overlay on but the circumstances that I was alone, the subject matter, and the nature of the person that I was interacting with, and my read of that person. And yeah, and really just a gut feel laying on top of all of that, it's going to be important to protect this organization that I make records of this.
Comey says he had no doubt what Trump was asking of him in their meetings.
When a president of the United States in the Oval Office says something like "I hope" or "I suggest" or "Would you," do you take that as a directive?
Yes. Yes, it rings in my ear as kind of, will no one rid me of this meddlesome priest?
I was just going to quote that in 1170, December 29, Henry II said, "Who will rid me of this meddlesome priest?" And then the next day he was killed. Thomas à Becket.
Trump could face impeachment for obstruction of justice. This is defined in the U.S. as any threatening communication which influences or impedes on the administration of justice. Trump could join a small group of presidents who have faced impeachment. More than 150 years ago, Andrew Johnson had the distinction of being the first president to be removed from office. Johnson made the mistake of dismissing his Secretary of War without Senate approval. He was later acquitted. More than a century later, Richard Nixon was certain to be impeached for obstruction of justice after the infamous Watergate scandal, but he resigned before he had to face federal prosecution. And most recently, Bill Clinton was impeached for misleading a grand jury about his infamous affair with Monica Lewinsky. He was later acquitted and issued a public apology. Polls opened today in Britain in a national election which could be tighter than predicted. British Prime Minister Theresa May called the snap election in a bid to strengthen her hand in Brexit negotiations and to boost the Conservative Party's majority in Parliament. The campaign has experienced some unexpected twists. Support for May and her Conservative Party dropped due to their controversial social care policy. This raises questions over whether she will win in the landslide that was predicted 7 weeks ago.
She was hoping, at least at the beginning, for a three-figure majority, which would mean that when going into negotiations with Europe around Brexit, she would not be held to ransom by any specific group within the Parliament, and so she would be able to exercise her power both in Europe and domestically without concerns of backbench rebellions.
Polling stations in the UK are open until 10 p.m. on Thursday, with the results announced overnight or into Friday. Police have increased security at all stations following the recent attacks in Manchester and London. British police have arrested 3 more suspects in the London terror attack investigation after video footage appeared online this morning. The camera footage shows police arriving at Borough Market near the London Bridge, where 8 officers shot 3 attackers dead. Members of the public are also shown throwing chairs and other objects in an attempt to stop the violence. On Saturday, Islamist militants drove into pedestrians on London Bridge before crashing the van and stabbing several civilians. 8 people were killed and 50 more were injured. This deadly attack comes at a difficult time for a nation still suffering from the bombing in Manchester just 2 weeks before. The Liberal government is rolling out a plan to increase Canada's defence budget by 70% over the next 10 years.
Who wear the uniform of the Canadian Armed Forces are at the heart of this policy.
At a press conference yesterday, Defence Minister Harjit Sajjan announced more than $62 billion will be set aside for military spending. Details of the policy include better health care for soldiers and veterans, 88 new fighter jets, and a full complement of naval ships. This comes a day after Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland stood in Parliament calling for the country's diplomacy strategies to be backed up by hard power. Details of Ontario's new $500 million autism program were unveiled today in a press conference. The Minister of Children and Youth Services, Michael Coteau, announced the expanded program. Under the new plan, the previous age cap of 5 years has been removed. Practitioners will be regulated and direct funding for private services will be available. Children will begin moving into the program on June 26th, with a complete overhaul finished by next spring. 50 years ago, the Ontario college system began, which made career-focused education a priority. Humber College was one of the first schools to open its doors back in 1967. The anniversary was celebrated this week with the unveiling of 3 new street names. Humber News reporter Yeva Lutz has the story.
I present to you Great Hawk Road and its Ojibwe name.
3 streets surrounding Humber College's North Campus will have their names changed in commemoration of the school's 50th anniversary. The signs were unveiled by Humber President Chris Whitaker during the annual President's Barbecue in the Learning Resource Center, the newest addition to the 50-year-old campus.
We've had a number of streets that have been reconfigured over the years on the campus, and I believe most of them are named after trees currently. So we love our trees, but also there was a committee that was looking after all our 50th anniversary celebrations, and they came up with the idea of renaming the streets to honor, a few different members of our community.
The street names will recognize 3 groups of people. Great Hawk Road honors the Anishinaabe people on whose land the college sits, Alumni Place for past students, and President's Way for the leaders of the college, including former President Robert Squee Gordon. Gordon was the longest-running president who sat for 25 years.
But I think the other thing which is very clear as you look around this room today, it's become such a diverse community. When I got here, I don't think there was anything but white faces. And now it's very much the face of Toronto and very much the fix on what will be Toronto in the future.
The event had a special twist this year with a 60s theme, celebrating the decade both Humber and the Ontario College's program were born. Staff and faculty were encouraged to get silly in the photo booth, dance along to a student band, and hug the Humber Hawk.
This commemorative garden in the Arboretum was put here for the 50th anniversary. And as you can see, Humber is still growing. This is a big year for Humber, but also for Ontario colleges, so there'll be many events over the summer and into the fall. Yeva Lutz, Humber News.
We are going to take a quick break. Still ahead, the latest in sports. But first, Dylan has a preview of your 3-day forecast.
It's time to start planning your summer activities, folks, as the warm weather appears here to stay in the Toronto area. Your 3-day forecast and more coming up next.